At first sight, people who look at World of Warcraft may think to themselves that this game, aside from its cinematics, has overall cartoony graphics. The words creepy and World of Warcraft do not by any means fit in the same sentence. But to the person that actually does play World of Warcraft firsthand and has devoted some time to experiencing the lands of Azeroth through their own eyes, that person will know that World of Warcraft does indeed contain a handful of creepy secrets that tend to leave the players who discover them unnerved and creeped out. Number 10 are the BAEL'DUN and BAEL'DUN dig sites. BAEL'DUN is located in the Southern Barrens and is heralded as the new home for the dwarves and gnomes on Kalimdor. It is also the home to the largest dwarven archaeological dig site in all of Kalimdor. Nearly 1,000 dwarves dig round the clock in an attempt to uncover the most significant set of Titan runes discovered since Uldaman was discovered in the Eastern Kingdoms. In the Cataclysm, however, a BAEL'DUN excavator, when interacted with Alliance players, says the following: "Turn away, before the Cataclysm hit, we found something. We dug something up that should have stayed buried. Pray to whatever you believe in that the landslide was enough to keep it down." Now, in the BAEL'DUN dig site, something interesting also happens. The BAEL'DUN dig site is a large quarry dug into the western edge of Mulgore by the dwarves. This provoked the Tauren since they believed that these excavations would upset and anger the Earth Mother. And as the dwarves refused to heed the warnings of the Tauren, the dwarves were inevitably killed from their reckless digging by what could only be described as Earth Spirits. Tauren shaman were then sent to the excavation site, where they attempted to calm the Earth Spirits with their magic. It is possible that the Earth Spirits were disturbed by the dwarves' digging, and so because of this, the spirits retaliated by assaulting the dwarves. Another possibility is the Old Gods. The Old Gods remained imprisoned underground by the Titans throughout all of Azeroth, so it is more than likely that the Old Gods may have some sort of connection with the events that have occurred here. And usually when you go digging around the earth, people are getting killed, mortals are driven mad, or Titan runes are found, it most likely means that the Old Gods are not too far behind. Number 9 is THADDIUS. THADDIUS is an undead construct that resides within the floating necropolis of Naxxramas, which can be located in Dragonblight. When players enter the raid, a sense of uneasiness envelops them as they begin to hear the voices of what appears to be a woman crying out for help. This voice comes from THADDIUS, and the reason why this voice is emanating from him is because he is a construct of flesh, sewn together by the body and the souls of women and children that have had the misfortune of falling victim as prey to Arthas' undead legion. The only way to silence the cries of mercy is by clearing the construct quarter firsthand, and in doing so, putting the souls of these people to rest. Number 8 is the Whispering Forest, which is a zone located in the western area of the Tristful Glades. This area is strange considering that it has plagued infected mobs around the level of 80 or higher, roaming around when it is extremely close to a low-level zone. What is even stranger is that there's usually an event that takes place where several fairy dragons assemble themselves into a ring and begin to perform some sort of ritual. The most likely speculation is that this ritual has some sort of connection, or is even a portal to the Emerald Dream, or maybe even the Emerald Nightmare, which is a corrupted portion of the Emerald Dream. Fairy dragons have the ability to phase out of reality, which thus allows them to police the Emerald Dream in an attempt to expel all harmful magic, so it is possible that whatever ritual that is being performed here may have some sort of relevance with the Emerald Dream, and perhaps even the old god Enzoth, whom was responsible for the spark of the Emerald Nightmare. Number 7 is Sogoth the Slitherer. When visiting Darkshore, a fossil of what seems to be some sort of old god minion can be found at the Master's Goliath. This creature bears the resemblances of the Faceless Ones, whom were present in numerous dungeons and raids all throughout Wrath of the Lich King, and they are basically agents and servants of the Old Ones themselves. At first sight, I thought that this fossil was some sort of mysterious Easter egg with no background story whatsoever, aside from the fact that it was some sort of deceased old god minion, but I was wrong. The slain tentacled creature was known as Sogoth the Slitherer, and although there isn't much information about him, archaeologist Groff does say that the Master's Goliath was the site of an ancient battle. When the Titans waged war against the malevolent and ruthless old gods, the Titans also dispatched a squadron of 20 of their strongest and mightiest stone giants against Sogoth the Slitherer. Sogoth was an incredibly skillful combatant, and it took the might of all of these stone giants just to defeat him. Out of the 20 stone giants that were sent to eradicate this abomination, only one of them survived the encounter. The stone giant that survived was named TKRONE, and he defeated Sogoth by allowing him to be entangled by his tendrils just long enough to be lifted close enough to the creature's skull, where he then impaled the monstrosity with his mighty sword. To this day, numerous Twilight's Hammer activists can be seen excavating around the corpse of this being. Why? We don't know. Only time will tell. Number 6 is the Throne of LORDAERON. Upon entering the Undercity, which is currently the stronghold for the forsaken undead of the Horde, a player can hear a variety of creepy yet nostalgic ambiences. If you happen to turn down your music and sound to 0%, but then turn up your ambience all the way up to 100%, you can hear a couple of things. The first thing that you can hear is the bell that is rung when Arthas returns home to LORDAERON after his mission in Northrend, and also after acquiring Frostmourne and exacting his revenge on Mal'Ganis. The next thing that you can hear are the residents of LORDAERON crying with joy at the miraculous return of their hero and heir to the throne as you walk along the pathway to the Throne of LORDAERON. The final hidden ambience is within the Throne of LORDAERON itself. Walk into what was once the throne room of King Tyrannus Menethil, and you can bear witness to the rise of the Scourge and fall of LORDAERON as Arthas kills his father. Number 5 is the Troll Orphanage in the Grand. To the common player, this location may just seem like any other normal place in World of Warcraft. There's nothing creepy or sinister about this orphanage. I mean, for fuck's sake, it's in the Grand. The Grand isn't creepy. What could possibly be creepy about some kids running around? Well, if you take a closer look, you can notice some strange things. First of all, when you talk to the woman, she says, "Shh, the babies are sleeping," which will lead you to believe that this woman is just doing her job of taking care of the children. But then if you start scoping around the place, you can notice that in the sandbox there is a giant skeleton of some creature that has died in the past. Then a couple feet away from that skeleton is a box of dynamite. If you then go to the doghouse, you will notice that there isn't a dog in the doghouse, but instead there's just a clump of decomposed flesh that's left rotting there. In addition to this, if you look adjacent to the troll woman, there's also a mobile that has babies attached to it while it's swinging. Then if you look next to the troll woman again, you can also see a cauldron. To anyone that has not inspected this area yet, they can safely assume that this woman is most likely just cooking food for the children. But if you travel around the back of the hut, you can also see that there are some cages there with locks, and one of them actually has remains of a corpse in it. Number 4 is the black blood of the drowned god. In Icecrown, there's a quarry where numerous Scourge minions are seen mining Saronite. Saronite is the blood of the old god YOGG SARON, and it is used by the Scourge to construct many spires and strongholds, including the Lich King stronghold of Icecrown Citadel. Now within this quarry, there's a lake, and if you descend down far enough, you can see what appears to be an old god, or at least a part of an old god lurking below the water. There's not much information regarding this old god in the lake, but there's a hefty amount of information regarding the Saronite. Saronite is simply described as an evil metal. Mortals who mine Saronite for prolonged periods of time appear to be driven insane by it. Many mortals that are rescued from the Saronite mines report hearing strange whispers of unknown origins attempting to shape their perceptions of those around them. In other words, these whispers would turn mortals against one another. Others are driven completely insane and attack their rescuers at the suggestion of being taken away from their quote-unquote master. Some suggest that because the Saronite is so powerful, YOGG SARON has influenced the Lich King and his undead legion somehow someway through his black blood. Another theory states, however, that because the Saronite is so resilient to the powers of the Holy Light, that is the reason why the Lich King chose to use his evil ore to create his fortresses in Icecrown. This theory is then supported by saying that since the Lich King is so powerful, and since his undead minions have no will of their own, and instead are bound to his will, that they would be resistant to the Saronite, unlike the ordinary soldiers of the Northrend counteroffensive. Number 3 is the puzzle box of YOGG SARON. Through the archaeology profession, a player in World of Warcraft can uncover a rare artifact known as the puzzle box of YOGG SARON by excavating Nerubian dig sites. As I said before, usually when you go digging around Azeroth, you tend to encounter something to do with the old gods. This puzzle box, when acquired by the player, will give them an option to attempt to open the box. When the player fails to open the box, a voice is then whispered to them stating a variety of creepy things. The first creepy thing that can be seen is a whisper that says the following: "Have you had the dream again? A black goat with 7 eyes that watches from the outside." According to Wowpedia, this whisper is speculated to depict Y'Shaarj, the old god within Pandaria, due to the fact that he has a similar theme of 7 eyes and 7 heads. A majority of the other whispers are assumed to be revolving around N'Zoth. N'Zoth is the 3rd confirmed old god within Azeroth, and although it is not 100% confirmed, he is also said to have played the biggest part in corrupting Neltharion the Earth Warder and transforming Azshara and the Highborn into the Naga when the Well of Eternity exploded. N'Zoth is also speculated to be somewhere beneath the seas, which is about to be evident in these next whispers. "In the land of Ny'alotha there is only sleep. In the sleeping city of Ny'alotha walk only mad things. The drowned god's heart is black ice." So through these whispers we do know for a fact that there is some old god beneath the seas, because YOGG states of a drowned god. As for the sleeping city of Ny'alotha, this is speculated by many to be the Emerald Nightmare. As stated by the puzzle box, it says that in the land of Ny'alotha there is only sleep. Some mortals, when they enter the Emerald Dream, become lost and cannot find their way out, and therefore enter a deep dream state. There is also mention of corruption within the Emerald Dream, known as the Emerald Nightmare, and it is stated by Chris Metzen that N'Zoth was the one responsible for the spark of the Emerald Nightmare, which leaves many players to believe that N'Zoth is somewhere beneath the seas or somewhere in the Emerald Dream. Number 2 is the Pearl Beneath the Seas. Going back to the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron, 2 other whispers should be directly noted. The whispers are the following: "At the bottom of the ocean, even light must die. The fish know all the secrets. They know the cold, they know the dark." These whispers, though they do not specify anything, do give us a broad idea that there is something sinister beneath the ocean. If you go to a location a little far away from the region of Vashj'ir, you will discover a corpse of what appears to be a gigantic fish, and directly adjacent to the fish, you will see a glowing orb. Players believe that this orb is the key to opening the puzzle box of Yogg-Saron, but there are numerous amounts of obstacles that you need to overcome should you plan on doing this. First of all, this location is not within the zone of Vashj'ir, which means that you will become fatigued the longer you drift away from the zone. However, if you reincarnate or soulstone yourself and somehow make it to the Pearl, there is an instant death wall that will kill your character when you come into close proximity with the orb. One theory is that this skeleton is part of some fish, which makes sense seeing as to how it's freaking underwater, and the puzzle box also states that the fish know all the secrets, and that this orb either killed it or drove it insane. Another theory is that this skeleton belonged to an old god, and it may have some sort of relevance to N'Zoth. Again, it's just one of those strange things in the game that we have to wait for, because all we can do now is guess and guess. Number 1 is the Children of Goldshire. Kids, right? What could possibly be creepy? At around 7 AM server time, a group of 6 human children form a pentagram and walk around, but never stray too far from their house, and also never go past where the river meets Crystal Lake. At around 7:40 in the morning, the children return to their house, where a creepy ambience begins to fill the room. As the children march into a room on the 2nd floor of the house, the music of Elwyn Forest completely stops as you enter the room, and a very creepy soundtrack starts playing. In addition to this, you can also hear a banshee scream, a female crying, some sort of growling, or even the whispers of Cthulhu.
You betray your friends. Your friends will abandon you.
Why exactly does this happen? I have no idea. Some suggest that this is an Easter egg that relates to the Diablo franchise, while others believe that since you can find 2 tiny skulls in the grass southwest of the house, that these kids are actually dead, and that the people walking are not human.